The reading today is from Clarissa Pinkola Estes, a poet, post-trauma specialist, and author of Women Who Run with Wolves. We are needed. That is all I know. And though we meet resistance, we more so will meet great souls who will hail us, love us, and guide us, and we will know them when they appear. Ours is not the task of fixing the entire world all at once, but of stretching out to mend the part of the world that is within our reach. Any small, calm thing that one soul can do to help another soul, to assist some portion of this poor, suffering world, will help immensely. It is not given to us to know which acts or by whom will cause the critical mass to tip toward an enduring good. What is needed for dramatic change is an accumulation of acts, adding to, adding more, continuing. We know that it does not take everyone on earth to bring justice and peace, but only a small, determined group who will not give up during the first, second, or 100th gale. Today we're going to present reflections from some of the women, just a portion of the women who gathered together at the march. As you're enjoying some of our photos that were taken, thanks to Ian and a few other people. I want to invite Kathy Manzella to come forward.
Thank you. I think it's on. Or I don't need it. It was quite an experience for me. It made me think of the women and men who marched years and years ago. 100 years ago, women were marching for the right to vote. Can you imagine? People have always marched when they thought things were wrong, they were oppressed, things weren't fair. And what I thought of this week is that we absolutely have to continue to do that. We cannot stop. We must continue to take action. We must post the things that we believe in on social media. We have to keep going. Reverend Charlotte said a prayer before we left this building last Saturday morning, and I felt my mother very close to me. And some of you may recall that my mother was a feminist when I didn't even know what the word was. And we have to continue to fight. I had another feminist in my family, my father, who called me the night that the Equal Rights Amendment failed in Florida, and he said, "Someday it will pass because it's right. And things that are right always happen, but you have to keep fighting." And that's what that march did for me last week. It renewed my spirit, and I will keep going, and I will keep fighting, and I will keep marching for all of us. And we need more UUs in this world. I think we have to continue our outreach. There needs to be more of us with the same like minds and like hearts. Thank you.
Mary Lazarus.
Kathy, that was really spoken from the heart. Can you hear?
No.
No.
It's on the bottom. You hold the button.
I think it's.
Hold the button on the bottom.
Are we on there? Okay.
If if you're feeling down about the present moral climate and don't know what to do about those feelings, you're going to have some good ideas by the time you leave today. You just missed a phenomenal opportunity, as Kathy talked about, to change those feelings to hope and determination from frustration and anger. And I think that's the key. 3.2 million people in the United States, it's not counting the world, marched last Saturday for the rights of everyone. That is a phenomenal number of people that felt they needed to be somewhere speaking out. I know that more opportunities will arise, and I hope that you will get connected to what's happening in this space where you just know you need to be, because that's important. 2 days before our Atlanta Women's March, I was a little concerned about the weather, rightfully so it turned out. Reverend Charlotte writes back, "I'm going rain, hail, or tornadoes." Okay, we can do this, and her determination really carried through. And then I walked into the conference room downstairs, remembering that I was part of Faith in Action for a very long time, and there would be this nice little core of 3 or 4 people. And I walked in and they counted, and there were 25. And they weren't all GMUUC. There were Lumpkin County people, and I was totally overwhelmed at the community coming together like that. That just gave me such a positive feeling, warm positive feeling, which we needed once we started after we got out of MARTA. Marching in the parade with the diverse groups of families and individuals of all colors and gender is something that we unfortunately don't get up here. It's an enlightening feeling to look around and see such a diverse community all coming together over something that they all feel is important. That march was figuring they would be lucky to have 15 or 20, and in a terrible rainstorm that fortunately cleared, they ended up with 60,000 people. That is really the strength of the feeling that is out there right now. Everyone was saying, "I'm not going away, and I'm going to watch what's happening to my world." And I think that is something that we need to think about. We have Martin Luther King Day to Valentine's Day as a part of the 30 Days of Love. That is UU recognition that we are in the middle of right now. It's from the Standing on the Side of Love campaign. Participating in this march really spread that love, I think. There was not only the camaraderie of our UU group, but all of the Dahlonega group, and then the people you're standing around, which kept changing, but everybody was smiling, looking at signs, sharing, taking pictures. There was just a feeling that was really hard to miss. Police officers were thanked by everyone as we passed. Police officers were smiling. Some of them had hearts they were holding as we went by. Not one person of 60,000 was arrested. This was a very positive, upbeat group. One can't help but have a feeling of hope. My hope is that you will spread the love.
Denise.
When I was in the midst of the march, I was excited and encouraged to see so many people there who obviously shared concerns that I have. What began as a march for issues typically of concern to women also attracted people who are worried about affordable health care, humane immigration, refugee policies, racial justice, and other matters. While some have criticized what they saw as a lack of focus, I was glad to see all of these issues represented. In the days since the march, I've been talking with friends, reading a lot of online discussion, and doing a lot of my own reflecting. It seems there are some who feel we white women are a bit late to the party, and there is some doubt about our commitment to human rights struggles that we don't see as directly relevant to ourselves. To illustrate, I want to share comments from an African American writer named Courtney Blackman. She said, "Today was fun, but to those in my feed all day who haven't shown up for Black lives, trans lives, Native, Latino, or Muslim American lives, to you, white lady who told me about your racist aunt or uncle that you just can't deal with, to you who forgot to hold this protest in your living room, who are gentrifying one Black neighborhood while ignoring the others that are without hospitals, clean water, or that have open chemical vats in their backyards, to you who show up in droves for women's rights, edit, white women's rights, but can't find your way to the street when it's covered in blood, where will you be tomorrow?" Ouch. She's right, of course. As Martin Luther King said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Am I only looking at the injustice that directly affects me and my family, or am I ready to peek over the fence and see the injustice my neighbor experiences? More importantly, am I ready to help fight for my neighbors, my Black, brown, LGBTQ, Muslim, and immigrant neighbors? Participating in this march has helped me see that we are indeed all in this together, and given me hope that we will show up for each other. And I would like to close with these words by the Lutheran pastor Martin Niemöller, and probably everyone's heard these. "First they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out, because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me."
Is Natalie here? Nancy Hunt?
I wasn't going to march. 2 months previously, I had registered for an art workshop to be held on Saturday, January 21st. It was with a wonderful artist and great instructor who teaches all over the world. However, January was becoming a nightmare for me. Our beloved little dog, Roxy, was diagnosed with cancer. My son was spiraling down the rabbit hole of drug addiction. I was becoming ever more agitated with the news and the increasing vitriol I've seen in political discourse, especially Facebook. I felt my life was getting completely out of control. I was literally panicking, sweating, hyperventilating, rapid heartbeats, the whole 9 yards. I had to do something. Though I sought professional care for them, I had no real control over the outcome of my dog's illness or my son's sickness. I could only control my own actions, thus I had to act. I chose to respond by raising my voice with my GMUUC friends, women and men whom I hold dearly and in high esteem. I had never made signs and marched in public demonstrations before. This was new territory for me, but it felt right. It felt empowering. Riding to Dahlonega with Reverend Charlotte to meet the others here for carpooling to Atlanta, we both relayed the pain of political dissension within our families. Perhaps you've experienced this as well. I just pray we can all get to the point where we can agree to disagree in a loving way. I think we were all amazed by the numbers. First, the numbers of folks who met at our church. Other progressives in the area, double the number we had expected. Arriving at the North Springs MARTA station, we saw masses of people, everyone looking at each other in amazement. We hugged, laughed, took pictures of each other with our posters. One man freely wrapped posters in commercial plastic to protect them from the rain. The trains, the MARTYR trains, were full, but the streets, oh, the streets. Even in the fiercely blowing cold rain, we saw determined women, men, and children making their way to the starting point of the march. Fortunately, the rain relented, but we were left to stand in the ankle-deep slush of saturated ground. We couldn't hear the speakers. That was disappointing, but it wasn't necessary to feel the joy, the energy, the love, and the will of the people around us. Those pink hats created a visual of unity amongst the diversity of the posters. Yes, some were directly anti-Trump, but by far, most were speaking positively to women's rights, the realities of climate change, access to medical care, economic disparity, and other issues on most progressives' agendas. Despite the huge crowds and the difficulty of moving within that crowd, I saw no one getting frustrated and start pushing others out of the way. I saw and personally experienced women offering to help each other around obstacles and to carry their loads. I saw police smiling as we marched by, saying, "Thank you for being here. Thank you for keeping us safe." Two images I saw later on Facebook summed it up for me. A beautiful little black girl, perhaps 6 years old, wearing a hand-lettered shirt. Me? A princess? No, I want to be president. The second was of an older white gentleman carrying a simple poster on which was taped a wire coat hanger and the words "Never Again."
Oh my gosh.
I told the story of the coat hanger poster to my yoga class 2 days later. Amazingly, and perhaps wonderfully, the younger women did not understand the reference. I strongly believe abortions should be rarely needed, carefully considered, and always medically safe. May we never go back to the days when a woman died at the hands of butchers or by self-aborting with a wire coat hanger. Namaste.
Mary DeLorenzo.
Okay. So why did I march? I must admit that I thought it would be fun. A fun adventure to go with a group of people I enjoy, be part of a historic day, and just do something different. And it was fun. And it was exhausting. And it was wet, but it was fun. This was not necessarily a political march. It was far more than that. It was a large group of people, like 60,000, supporting victims of discrimination. Marchers all over the world were saying to our elected officials, we believe in the inherent dignity and worth, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Men, women, children of all ages participated by supporting women who have been victims of discrimination, whether that be wage, leadership, administrative advancement, or health concerns. Although I have never felt victimized, primarily because I have followed the traditional female role, many, if not most, women choose to go beyond that tradition. And I support them. I marched for them. I've never felt discrimination because of my sexual orientation. I've been able to follow the path that has few briars. briars that warn you may go get hurt if you follow this path. Many, many have faced painful discrimination. I support them. I march for them. Likewise, I've never felt discrimination because of my race. I am white, and it's easy to be white. My friend Eva, who I spent countless hours pounding the pavement and registering and reminding people to vote, this was in the first Obama phase, has been the object of what to me seems extreme discrimination. When schools in Cochran, Georgia integrated, teachers did not welcome a smart, motivated black girl. She had to sit in a row by the wall, all by herself, no one in front, no one behind. She got lower grades on test papers even though she had the same answers as her white classmates. She was told to sit down in her seat while students got help at the teacher's desk. These memories don't go away. She finally decided to get her GED. High school was just too painful. I marched for Eva. I have never felt health care discrimination. When I get sick, I go to the doctor. Good health insurance and adequate income to pay for that. Many do not, and they're afraid. I marched for them. I've never felt discrimination as do many immigrants in our country. My granddaughter's friend, Tamal, is an olive-skinned Muslim who likes to help all the girls with their math problems. The day after the election, some white classmates, who he didn't even know, yelled down the hall, "Pack your bags, Tamal, you're out of here." I marched for Tamal. I've got to add an addendum, which I found out just last night. My sister's grandson is a student at MIT. His girlfriend is Iranian. She went home to visit her family during the semester break. Yesterday, she went to the airport in Qatar, where she was barred from boarding her flight and returning to the United States. Garrett, this is the grandson, the MIT guy, he writes, "Here are the facts. An MIT student with a valid student ID or student visa could not return to the United States. One of the brightest minds I know may not be able to continue her studies. A friend has been discriminated against because of where she was born and the God she believes in. I love this land of the free and home of the brave, but I've been pressed to find anything free and brave about this." Okay, my conclusion, it's supposed to be 3 minutes, I think it's 5, but anyway. This was a peaceful march, peaceful around the world. When have there ever been millions of people marching together and not a single arrest? The positive energy level was exhilarating. There will be more marches, not only with our feet, but with our voice and our hands and our hearts. We can all participate in this movement, so keep listening. If you want to be part of this, we will keep you informed. And remember, yes, we can.
I'm going to share some thoughts from our own Emily Ball. Emily is 12? She's 12. She attended the march with her mother, Denise. She says, "It was a good experience for kids, and I saw more kids than I expected. I thought I would be the only kid there. I was surprised that it did not have food. Surprised it didn't have hot dog stands, because people would have made a lot of money off of that. This is true. She says, I thought it was a good reason to go. I went for women's rights and snacks. I want to put that on a t-shirt. I think it might have an impact, but I think it will take more than one march to make a big impact. I'm willing to march again. All my friends are Trump supporters, so I probably won't tell them I marched. From the mouths of babes. And from Chelsea Dickerson. When I first heard that there was going to be a march for women in Atlanta, I was so excited, yet scared. Knowing that this administration inspires hate in many, I was unsure what to expect. Would we face opposition, violence? I struggled with the decision to attend almost every day since the day I found out about it. On the morning of the march, I woke up and sat alone in a quiet room, feeling the wind come through my window and hearing the birds chirp. I reflected on the monumental importance that this march had. I thought of myself as a child and how I was taught at the very young age that my body and my mind were less important than the men around me, and that as a woman I would be useful only to serve the men around me. I thought of my grandmother fighting hard in the years after I went to live with her to make me see that I was more than just a sexual object, and I was meant for more than just to serve men. She made it a point to set an example of what it means to be a strong female and fight for our rights. As I sat there in that quiet room, I thought of my possible children. I reflected on how I could not bear to look at my little girl one day and see her endure the injustices that some women face today. So I marched, and I'm so glad I did. We stood in solidarity, sporting our pink hats and protest signs, and marched through Atlanta with pride. I've never felt so uplifted by a group of people. This march was more than just about this administration's disrespect and threat towards women. For me, I was carrying on the fight for the grandmothers and mothers in the world who grew up like I did thinking they were less than. I marched for the women who marched before me, and I marched for me. And my reflection. We put our phones down, well, except for taking pictures and videos. We turned to our neighbors. We cooed at their babies. We smiled and laughed and sang and chanted and held hands, shoulders, jackets, bags. We marched. We stood a lot. We sat and we leaned. We sought refuge from the rain and the wind together, dried off in the bathroom, shared food and water. We said thank you and please. We came from far away and from right down the road. Critiques of this march abound, and they are not without truth. But for just a moment, just one brief moment in this sometimes dim universe, awe and a sense of purpose collided, and Atlanta was flooded with 60-something thousand individuals who, along the route, became a living, breathing mass of one. And the levity I felt, despite the rainwater and mud weighing me down quite literally, I felt such hope. I wondered if this was what it was like for my sisters who had gone before me, who had marched for the freedoms I expected as easily as I expected air. Like the sign that read, "I am my ancestors' wildest dreams." Had my four sisters ever imagined I could take my rights for granted? I carried each woman with me in my heart, in my shoes, in my clergy collar, each step a thank you for their sacrifices, each step paving a way for the next generation. May it be so again and again and again. Amen.